hi, my name is Taro Omiya. I am basically showing off an iPad screen right here. You can see, woo, it's iPad. So yes, this is probably the first lesson night ever where we just use a mobile device to actually teach how to do something, making assets to your game. This is an iPad Air 2, I believe. I might be wrong. So it is a fairly old version of an iPad, but this also works on iPhone as well. There is an application called GarageBand from Apple themselves. It is a free application, and you can create some music out of it. And I'm going to teach you how to do that because I am someone who has absolutely zero talent. And I figured showing off how to make music when you have absolutely zero talent is probably a useful skill. So here it is. The Taro's has no talent how to make music in GarageBand lesson night by TVGS. So here it is. As usual, you'll start by kind of seeing the screen where I'll ask you, hey, where do you want to add your next file on GarageBand? And I'm just going to say create document right here. You would normally expect that. And the first thing that you see is this screen right here. Holy crud, there's actually a lot of different pre-made music set, but we're just going to create a new one. Something new here. Sweet, give it a little bit of time. And here it is. Here is our wonderful music track sheet. And a really good way of kind of understanding how GarageBand for iOS works is that you might see like how mashup artists or DJs will have a pad that has a lot of buttons on it. And the iPad for GarageBand basically follows the same line of thinking as well. Anyways, so the first thing we need to do is we need to actually create a track. And as it sounds, that is actually super easy to do. You just have to literally just tap this, and it'll ask you, hey, do you want to add loops or instruments? Good question. Let's start off by adding loops for the time being. And here we go. So here's a bunch of loops that we have available to us. I'm going to take off this thing for a moment. And then we have a couple of different loops that we can search for. There is a lot right here. But yeah, let's see if you can find something that we like. Let's try this one. And you can kind of tap on them and see what kind of music there are. Ooh, ouch. So I didn't have any one in particular, but what's this? Oh, I see. Let's see if I can find something. So let's choose that. We just have to drag and drop that onto a track, and there it is. Now, when you actually just tap on that square on the new loop that we created, like so, you can actually listen to the actual loop itself. So it's not hard to imagine. Also, there's a loop button on the upper top right-hand corner. Oops, that's double tap. Single tap. If you tap right here on the upper right-hand corner, you can also just bring up the loops. And if you want to, you can just outright drag. You can just outright drag and drop your music tracks right here in the track that you want to. I'm going to double tap here. And I'm just going to say delete because I don't want that track right now. So this is basically your first implementation of, hey, let's start pulling some track together. You just basically pull a bunch of loops together. And that's how I usually make music in this case. But what probably would be more useful for a lot of people is gonna actually, figure out how to make your own music that you want to. And as it turns out, you had the clue right there. When you tap on the plus button right here, it gives you loops and instruments. If you tap on instruments, that's when things get a little more interesting. So it gives you a selection of different instruments that you can select. I am going to start with drums for the time being to go along with that little jazzy saxophone right there. And there is, there's an actual acoustic drums, there's some beat sequencer, and smart drums. I'm going to start off with smart drums first. That one tends to be a little easier to understand. And then here it says drag some drums around. So yeah, I don't want a hip-hop machine. You can select different sort of items by just tapping on the hip-hop machine drums right here. Let's go with the classic studio kit. Yeah, and then you see some couple of different instruments right here. You can just drag and drop them out of location. Okay, I like that. And basically, what the application does is it kind of generates a beat out of that. So let's drop that right here. And hi-hats. I don't want congos. So yeah, I think this sounds good. And then we just need to record it by hitting the record button right here. And basically this way, what we do is we end up creating a loop on our GarageBand application. So now when we return to it, now we have this, now we have 2 tracks on it. And there's a funny shortcut. Instead of just tapping these singularly like I am doing right now, what you can also do is, I'm going to oh, I guess it doesn't go back. You can also tap on a bottom button right here to play all the music tracks on that particular column immediately. So let's try that again. Alright, so we got something good to start with. Let's come up with other instruments. Whoops, that is not the instrument I want. Go away, piano. We don't need you. You don't belong here. Double tap that. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Oh, it's not recognizing my double taps. I think that it also recognizes the long tap as well, so that might be better. Anyways, let's go with instruments. What we actually want is the beat sequencer. Beat sequencer is the other option for creating different beats. And so the beat sequencer, you can see all these instruments right here. You can basically kind of turn on the lights, and you can already see the little bit of ticker going right and left there. But you can basically, set the beat. And then from there, you can just kind of record that. There's also one other drum-based options that exist. Let's see if I can actually bring that up real quick. Acoustic drums. Huh. Oh, here it is, the drummer. This is the, I think electronic is the same thing. Yeah, it is. This is the last kind of drumming method where you can just kind of choose a person. So, for example, yeah, let's go with Maurice. I like that one. And then there's a couple of different styles, and it'll let you kind of allow you to customize all sorts of different swing heavy. And so this allows you to kind of create, kind of procedurally generate a drum beat. So I'm gonna, since we have that loop done already, I'm going to deliberately mute these. And then play that. So this is Maurice's drum kit. So if you want to basically move things around, then I believe you do need to hit this lower left-hand corner edit button. I might be wrong actually. Yeah, you do. Sorry. So you have to hit the little edit button, and you might notice that the entire screen kind of dims out a little bit. That lets you kind of move things around by simply dragging and dropping as necessary. So we'll probably want this. Whoops. Copy, paste, and paste. So then you can kind of imagine me working on this, having absolutely no talent at all, and being like, okay, let's start off by hitting the bottom button right here. Oh, of course, I forgot that I muted those. Whoops. So yeah, I mean, it's just me going through and then one column at a time, just tapping them on the beat. You might also notice that GarageBand tries to be helpful, so that if you hit off beat, it'll actually try to switch it, let the whole recording go for that beat before moving on to the next column. So it allows for a little bit of wiggle room in, lack of hits and capabilities. So with that in mind, let's actually get some actual instruments in here. So I mentioned, we previewed a little bit about the keyboard. There's a couple of different instruments up here, but I'm going to go with a keyboard, and more importantly, I'm going to go with the smart piano on the bottom right here. And there are a couple of different things that you can do with a smart piano. You can just tap, or I can just get rid of that. And so that kind of automatically lets you hit the scales. But the more interestingly, there's a knob left to the grand piano right here. You can obviously, there's a lot of different pianos right here. But to the left, to the right of the grand piano is autoplay. And if you just circle that to different locations, the keyboard will slightly change, and you can kind of select a key right here. So there's a couple of different, piano selections that exist that you can kind of like automatically auto plays and generates the music for you. Now, because that does not work with the saxophone that we already have, I'm going to see if I can go with a smooth clav and see if that does any better. Okay, I kind of like this, so let's start recording that. So let's actually hear that in actual music here. I'm gonna drag and drop that right here, and I'm gonna copy this and drop this also right here. So let's hear that. I actually don't really like this track right here, so I'm going to delete this. So like already now we have pretty decent piano and saxophone music. So at this point I just kind of go crazy. I try to find any sort of other instruments that I particularly like. As it turns out, a couple of different instruments also have smart recording options. So since we have, yeah, let's add a smart guitar in there. So acoustic, and what does the autoplay options give you? Yeah, that's not very good. Let's go with hard rock, see if that does any better. Not really what I wanted. Classic clean, maybe? Alright, yeah, let's go with this. Oof, I didn't like that. Let's try that again. Alright, so let's actually listen to that. Let's drag that over here. And then let's listen to it. Oh. So it's a little loud, probably want to dim that a little bit. Oh. And then there's actually some more exotic instruments on here as well, as it turns out there is, world. Play different instruments from around the world. Let's go with it. I have never heard of this instrument before, so let's find out what this sounds like. Oh, okay. So right now it says notes and chords right here on the little knob on the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to switch that to chords. And then that gives me an opportunity to kind of change that. Let's go with this. So let's see if that works at all in our current composition. You know, it's all about experimentation. Let me copy this, duplicate, cool. And then let me delete this. Then let's see what happens. So we probably don't want the saxophone playing on that cell. It kind of doesn't work, but whatever. We're going on anyways. A couple of other interesting things that you can do with GarageBand is instruments again. You might notice that there is something at the very bottom right here. It says Smart Piano Synth, then Sampler. I don't remember what synth does, but sampler is the more interesting part. So if you tap on sampler, you're going to see this screen right here, and you might notice that it's actually recording there's a little bar where it says input level. It's actually recording what the heck I'm talking about. So this is kind of like a really good way of kind of generating your own sound effect and sticking it onto a keyboard. So let's see, I should probably get really creative with this and come up with some sort of good sample here. So let me think. Yeah, let's do that. There it is. See if that works. All right, that is super annoying. I'm not going to attempt that one. Let me try something else. Yeah, let's try that. So then we can do that to kind of record. All right, well, enough practicing. All right, well, that was bad recording. You know what? We're running with this. It's terrible. So you can kind of create your own instrument if you want to using that sampler feature. I'm gonna be extra silly and move this over here. Copy over. Oops. Copy this to this cell right here. Paste. Copy this. Paste. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. Technically, iPad does have a limit of the number of instruments it can play at once, but the problem is simply at once part. So long as you're not meeting that limit, it should be all good to go. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's worth talking about. Oh, of course, strings. What am I forgetting? I do not know what scales do, so let's find out what that does. All right, never mind. That's not what I was looking for. Let's go for cinematic, and there's chords, and as chords, you have these autoplay options as well. Okay, I like this. So let's go with this recording right here. I borked that one. Let's try that again. I want to try that again. So let's try that. We don't want you here. Undo the edit mode. Alright, cool. So we have some pretty cool stuff right here, and finally, I believe, yes. Alright, perfect. So I hit the little effects button right here. I don't know what this button does. Oh, interesting. Anyways, so I hit the little effects button right here. And as the name implies, that actually creates some effects on the music itself. So for example, let's try this one. So we obviously are hearing this, but we can also add little different effects like this one. So you can just kind of like, there's all these sort of little tap buttons that you can test to see what happens and kind of play around with. That's actually really cool. I like that one. So I believe you actually have to record to get that effects working. So I might be a little wrong on that. So now we have a basis for kind of creating our own music that we want to. But before I go too far into this, let me take out the effects. There's one thing that you can do. You might notice that you can actually just kind of copy each of these rows. So I'm going to duplicate this. That's not what I really wanted. Yeah, that's not what I really wanted. Delete that real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna copy this. Oops. Copy, paste. Perfect. Copy that. Paste. So we have all this, but what you might notice that you can do is that you can actually just kind of tap on each of these cells, and I believe it's just long hold. Am I wrong? Oh, edit? Nope, that's not what I wanted. Go back. Settings. There we go. Okay, so the settings kind of provide you a couple of different options, including, for example, semitones is probably the more important one right here. We can increase the semitone to kind of change the octaves a little bit. So I'm going to increase the semitone by 2 and see what that happens. And do the same thing for everything else on that track. Oh, whoops, it has multi-select on. Does this not have semitone? Weird, this one doesn't have semitone at all. Oh, let's see what happens. Alright, so that, whoops. So this poor fellow didn't make it, but But as you would expect, semitone increases the octave. Oh, that's 4 semitones for some reason. Let's go with just 2, please. Maybe I only want 1. There we go. But anyways, there's a way to kind of change the octave of each track so that you can kind of choose, pick and choose that. So with that in mind, this is basically what I had in mind for the actual presentation. In regards to actually recording this and sending it to yourself, this is what I usually do. First off, let me take this out. I kind of don't like this. Stop. Delete. So the way I would do this is I would first start off, I would bring up the FX things first, and then I would first hit the record button. So that's kind of me recording that music, and so once I have that track, there's a little track button up here, single track, where you can kind of see the actual music. Oops. There we go. So you can actually kind of see what the music looks like and adjust as necessary. So in this case, so like for example, right here, I don't like this part, so I can basically take this out. Delete. Delete. Then I would have to figure out a way to move everything after this. But this kind of allows you to kind of post-process and edit as necessary. So, no. Move the slider right here, and then say split right here. Split right here, and we don't need this. Delete. So now we can move everything. To allow multi-select? Nope. Alright, I guess not. Can move the effects over as well. Move that over. Move this over. Move this over. And move that over. So let's start right here. Oh, whoops. I forgot to move this over, so let's do that real quick. Oh no, why are you optimizing performance? Please don't do that. No, iPad! What are you doing? I also noticed there's this weird cut in here I don't like. I don't need this. And I don't need you. Let's try here. And yeah, I confess that any sort of effects right around here really is not necessary, so let's split that right here and cut this out. There we go. Cool. And then there's a little plus button right here. Yeah, right now it says 34 bars automatic, but you can see that it ends at 32 bars, so we can actually change that from section A. Turn off automatic. Let's turn that to 32. There we go. So that cuts off the music at the very end right there. So that should sound right. my finger snapping. I kinda don't like that drum beat. Delete that. Copy. See if I can paste it there. Paste. There we go. I'm actually surprised I didn't have the drum beat anywhere else. Yeah, I can copy this and also drop it here as well. And then I can copy it here and paste this as well. So let's try that. And I kind of want to bring back Maurice at that area as well. So this is me, like, just kind of, you know, post-processing as creatively as possible. And then I actually want to extend this even farther to that very end. Let's see how that sounds. So that's it. That's basically it in creating a music. And then what I like to do here is I like to hit My Songs at the very upper left-hand corner. Notice that, excuse me, it actually saves the project. I can kind of select that and say, is there a way, rename, we'll call this we'll call this Music for the Talentless. That is my title. Done. Music for the Talentless is already taken. Come up with a new name. Come on. Will you let me edit this? I guess not. Oh no! Do something! Oh no, we're doing live bug testing right now. Alright, well, that didn't quite work out as planned. Boink, boink. That should have saved as my music anyway, so hopefully that didn't lose us anything. Music for the Talentless. Okay, cool, awesome. And then from there, we can just select that, and I like to just, I haven't found an easy way to export this, so I just like to say select that and either move. Yeah, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Select that. I like to just say share, and then share song. We are going with high quality. Sure. Album, we're calling it TVGS. And then we're going to choose that photo, blah, 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 blah. And we are going to share this via email, or I can just say copy to. Yeah, you know what, I'm just going to say copy to Drive. And then it's just going to export the song and copy it over to a Drive folder, in which then I can later share to the world as necessary. Any questions? That's basically it in regards to using GarageBand for music creation. I hope that was pretty straightforward and easy to understand. Apologies for a couple of hiccups here and there. Outside of like technical problems, really it's a fairly easy application to use. Yeah. Are you gonna save it? Okay, I guess it did. So hopefully I'll put that up somewhere online for people to kind of hear the end results, as well as I'll share the project files as well for anyone that wants to use that file for their own music creation purposes. What else comes to my mind? I did skip a couple of features that I didn't realize how much more time I had, so I might be able to go over, but I would first like to actually just make my own. new music right here. So I deliberately skipped over this. There's a lot of different presets available right here. Let's go with house. But as you would expect, they come with like a preset of loops that already come in. That loops are the basic thing that I kind of skipped over the most, but you can just kind of like hear them. Oh, you might notice there's something interesting going on right here. One of the loops at the very bottom is actually going in complete reverse. And for that, you just have to hit the edit button and figure out what the heck's going on there when you hit the settings. Right here at the very bottom under speed, there's a reverse checkbox. So that allows you to kind of reverse that loop if you want to so choose to do that. There's a couple of good reasons to do that. A couple of these loops are actually in reverse on purpose, so if you want to re-reverse that, there's an option to do that. But generally speaking, it's just a creative decision to do so. Let's see. I confess that I saw a lot of things and I had no idea what this does. So what does synth do? Oh, it just brings up a synth. It just brings up a synth keyboard. That makes sense. There is a lot. Holy crud, there is a lot of keyboards. There's just keyboard classics right here. Whirly. Organs. Percussion on the third, distortion. Interesting. Scales, there's scales here. You can also make it so that it's double. Yeah! You can make it so it's double keyboard if you want to by just tapping this. I'm gonna make it single keyboard, of course. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there. Synth classic. Evolving colors. What's this do? Oh. So one thing that's kind of worth interesting talking about with this smart keyboard, they call it, is that if you just hold down versus if you tap, it actually does create a different sounds. This is more audible in the strings version of it. I'll go over that real quick. But you can also just hold. And that kind of lets you, slur the notes. Of course, you can play two at the same time. You can also play around with these knobs, which is actually really fun to do. So there's that. Another instrument that's really worth talking about. Oh, whoops. Strings. So we're going to bring up smart strings over here. So notice I'm just tapping and it creates these pizzicato sounds. And then if I hold, that's me rubbing it. So by kind of holding and rubbing really quickly, you create a different sound effect. So that's something we're talking about. This obviously have a couple of different instruments as well. and I also kind of went very briefly over it, but you can actually tap and select certain instruments to turn on. So if you only want violins, for example, there's an option to do so. Obviously there's bass. Let's see if scales means anything to me. That's not what I thought it would do. Well, anyways, let's switch it back to chords. Well, bass is what you would expect, bass stuff. Couple of different guitar, bass instruments available, of course. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Hit that button right there. You can obviously download more sounds, as it says right here. External, you can in fact play into your iPad via USB if that's something that you want to do. Drums, we already went through that. Amp, plug in a guitar or bass and play through the classic amps and or stop box. Oh, I forgot about this, audio recording. Actually, this is something important to talk about. So this is literally just a way of recording your own voice. So here you can see on the left side of the bar, it's recording my own voice, and I can just go like, hello, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, and then, you know, that becomes a loop on its own. But there's a couple of fun things that you can do with that as well. You might notice that it says Studio on the top right here, but if I tap on Fun, you have all these other options, such as, let's say, for example, Chipmunk. Oh, whoops, this didn't do what I thought it did. Okay, so let's just listen to that. So that's me sounding like a chipmunk. You know what? Let's go back to our, let's go back to our music for the talent list here and actually throw that throw that recording in there somewhere. Yeah, you know what? So a few loops that I want to, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Go back. Yeah, let's record approximately right here. Okay. Here, let me see. I'm trying to think of something. A presentation for TVG from TVGS. Let's try that again. This is a presentation for the TVGS on how to create music for our iPad on GarageBand. So let's actually listen to that and see what that sounds like. All right, it's hard to tell. That's not very useful, I'm sorry. I believe it is possible to make this the only thing that you can listen to. Well, that kind of explains it. That's not a very good effect then. Let's choose a different effect then. Let's go with robot. This is TechVi GameSpace music generation for the talentless using GarageBand for iPad iOS. So let's hear that. That actually sounds pretty good, but maybe that didn't quite come out the way I wanted. Extreme tuning? I have no idea what this does. This is music generation for the talentless from TVGS on GarageBand iOS. Yeah, I can't hear that one either. I should just go with the chipmunk, honestly. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, in. Let's cap that right there. Good. Music generation for the talentless by TVGS for GarageBand iOS. Have fun. Hope you are. Music generation for the talentless by TVGS for GarageBand iOS. Great, perfect. We're keeping it in. Oh, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. We can probably decrease the volume on that. Oh, oops, I forgot that I soloed that. Yeah, so let's listen to it in context. I love it. Then I want to add one more recording here. This one's for the phone. もしもし、聞こえますか？あれ、誰も答えないですね。じゃあ、また後で電話します。じゃあね。Alright, so let's try that Japanese and see if that sounds good. Yeah, I'm kind of fine with that. Oh, it was actually playing the music and it was double recording that. That would actually kind of explain it. Yeah. Let's try that again. Well, what does Bullhorn do? Well, this is me testing the audio. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Don't know what's going on, but I guess we're gonna find out. So, toodles! There's also Dreamy. I have no idea what that is, so let's find out what that is too. Let's figure out where in the track we are. Right around here sounds good. So sleepy. So dreamy. Sleep is good. Make sure you have 8 hours of it. Yep, that's all. Optimizing performance? Oh my goodness. I guess we're just never gonna find out what the heck sleepy is. Alright, let's see how that sounds like in actual context. Oop. You know, I might actually, let me see if I can do this. Follow tempo and pitch. Let's double the speed. And let's loop that. Loop? All the way up to here. Alright, cool. That's the extra materials I had in mind. Cool. Well, other than that, thank you for checking out the lesson. Yay.